Hi guys, first official MotoVlog, boys and all, Triumph Babe. Hello, welcome to downtown Phoenix. Lovely afternoon ride after a day at work. Going around the street. It's quite beautiful outside right now, actually. Probably 65 Fahrenheit. And, weather report said it was supposed to rain. But it doesn't look like rain to me. Not to me at all. It's part of why I love living in Arizona. Beautiful weather, even in the winter. Not turning. Alright. So, first official MotoVlog from Triumph Babe, and I have no idea what to talk about. I guess, for those of you who've never seen my channel, mostly up to this point, I've just done a lot of videos of garage days and raw ride footage, because I hate scrubbing ride footage. I gotta get better at it. But yeah, so I do a lot of like videos of me breaking down my bike, working on my bike, oil changes, all sorts of stuff. And yeah, it kind of turned into this little beast of a project where I ended up rebuilding the entire thing, bolts up, after I blew my engine, so it's been fun. I've only had the channel for about a year or two, so I'm hoping to see where it goes. Pretty excited to start diving into the motovlog aspect of this, to add into my channel a new, facet, I guess. You know, you got the ride footage, I've got garage footage. Recently I've actually had a few reviews to do, mostly jackets from Motorcycle House, which is pretty exciting. I didn't ever think I would be asked to do reviews, so that was a lot of fun. So maybe more of those in the future too. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, welcome to Phoenix. It's glorious. I love Phoenix. Well, I got my first motorcycle in early spring, January of 2012. But then I actually had a scooter before that, a little 125cc, for about 3 years up to then, before I actually made the dive and got a motorcycle. My first bike was a Suzuki BX800 from 1990. Probably had, it had way over 65,000 miles on it when I bought it. The odometer wasn't even working by then, so I don't know how many miles I had on it. I put about 5,000 on it before I went test riding on a bunch of different bikes, and it decided that I wanted to buy something new because, not being mechanical myself, I didn't want to go look at used bikes, not knowing what to look for, and chance that, it was something that wasn't going to last me. So I just was looking at all sorts of different kind of bikes in my price range, and I had kind of set myself up. I really wanted a Ducati. At the time, I had a friend. She had a Ducati Monster, and I thought it was the sexiest looking bike ever, and it was a beast. Hers was really, really sexy. I mean, it was a stunner of a bike, but it had been modified a lot, so it wasn't stock, of course. And so when I finally went to go actually look at bikes, I eventually wandered into the Ducati store after I scared my dad a little bit by going with him into all these other places and sitting on a bunch of leader bikes, like the CX-10 or a what did I sit on? R1, and I did sit on like a Yamaha FT8, so I really like street fighter bikes, And so I sat on that too, and then we wandered over to the Ducati shop, the European bike shop at the time, and hadn't even gotten over to the Ducatis yet when we walked in, and just kind of looking casually around for them as I wandered through, and I saw my baby sitting there. I saw her, and I thought, what is that? That's kind of sexy. Really like the angles, really like the lines, and I was kind of like, there's no way I could afford whatever this is. This looks exotic. This looks smooth and silky, and like, there's no way that it's going to be in my budget. And I looked at the price tag, and I was like, oh, not only is it in my budget, but it's less than the Ducatis. Wow, okay. Well, I'm pretty sure I still want a Ducati. I'll just, sit on it. So I sat on the Triumph, not then even knowing what a Triumph was. And the moment I sat down, I was like, oh, well, shoot, man. I didn't know that sitting on a bike could even feel like this. And I sat in a little longer, and I looked at my dad, and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, it looks really nice. And then we get off, and I finally wander over to where the monsters are sitting, and I look at the monsters, kind of look at them closely for the first time. I'm like, I don't know. And I sit on it and was like, oh, well, I mean, it's nice. It's better than what I have had in the past, but, I mean, it's not the other bike. And so I look at the price tag, and again, it's more than the Triumph, but I'm like, okay, well, I expected it to be a lot of money, and if I really wanted, like, I was willing to pay it. That's why I budgeted for it. And then I start looking at all the other specs, like, okay, well, all right, both in my budget. One's a little bit more expensive, one's just a little bit better. And I start looking at the specs, and I'm like, okay, what's the horsepower? How many cc's? What's like the regular maintenance cycle? How much does the maintenance cycle average cost? And one aspect after another, the Triumph is winning so hardcore. So, like, for example, the horsepower on the Ducati Monster, I was looking at the 696 at the time because I wanted something in the 600 range, something, medium sized. I didn't need something crazy powerful, and it was like 30 horsepower less than the 675 Triumph. I was like, well, okay, that's kind of lame. I mean, it's not my first bike. I don't need it to be like super underpowered or anything for me to be able to handle it. Like, it's not my first bike. And then, looking at like cost of the maintenance, the Ducati cycle maintenance were more frequent and more expensive on average. I was like, oh man, I don't know. And I looked again at the 675, and then I looked at the Ducati. And before I looked at the Ducati, I thought, it really doesn't look very much like a street bike at all. It looks kind of like a dirt bike with that red swing arm. It was a red one, which, oh man, beautiful red color though. It had a red swing arm though against a black engine, and I just kept thinking, it's like a dirt bike swing arm or something. I'm not sure. I don't know. It's like just the framework around the engine under the tank too, and I just like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. Of course, there was also a 675R sitting next to the black one in red, and I really kind of like the red. I like the red a lot, and I was like, oh, I kind of want the red, but then I was looking at it, and it was like an extra $1,000 for the red one, because it was an R model, and the only difference between the R and the non-R at the time was just the suspension, and the suspension wasn't $1,000 worth of suspension. I could have bought one used for much less than that, so in my opinion, it just wasn't worth it. So, in the end, we ended up picking up the Triumph, and that's how instead of a Ducati, I could have been Ducati babe, but I don't know if I would have even stuck with the Ducati as long as I have with this. It's been over 4.5 years now on this same frame, and I don't know, man. Something about the shape of this, the way it feels, the way it fits and rides. this 675 is literally telepathic movement for me. I don't have to think about what I'm doing. I just move and it happens. Like I just have to think about what I want to do and it's there, it happens. So there's the love story between me and my bike. There's the airport, Sky Harbor International Airport. This is Papago Park, Camelback over there. So I like this corner, it took it away from me. Oh well. There's Tempe out that way. South Mountain Range. Sun setting over South Mountain. So, welcome to my first official motovlog. Hopefully there'll be many, many more. You are going to learn all about the terrible, terrible drivers in Phoenix. We're one of the worst states in the United States for driving. Highest accident rating and incident rating. Phoenix is really, really bad. So, you gotta be a little defensively aggressive.